Hello and welcome to I Want to Grow, and I Want to Grow is all about that, right? It's about our growth. But this one's a little bit different. Today we celebrate the British Council and the job that the British Council has done all over the world, not just here in Qatar, but all over the world, is immense. So congratulations to the British Council. But today we have a special guest, and I was proud to have seen you win the competition. Barry, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you
Please
so much.
Tell everybody what you do and where you're from.
So I'm an assistant professor of law at a university called Hamad bin Khalifa University, HBKU. It was a university it's about 15 years old. The law school itself is about, I think we just hit our 10th anniversary. I joined 8 years ago. So I joined before we even graduated any class. Before that, I was doing a PhD in the UK. I'm from the UK. I did a PhD at Cambridge. And 2 weeks after finishing that, I came out to Qatar to take on this adventure and try and build this new law school. So here we are. It's still standing, and it's grown, and it's built a very strong reputation in the region. So,
unbelievable reputation in the region, and it just keeps on growing.
Yep. So HBKU as a university is now ranked in the top 200 in the world. For a 15-year-old university, that's, I think, an exceptionally rare achievement. It's to be in the top 200 globally in such a short space of time is quite impressive. So that's a collective effort of not just the College of Law, but we've got lots of different colleges, science and engineering and health and social sciences humanity and so on. So they've all played a part in that.
But when you do, we can say in the top 200, but we're talking about the globe.
Yep.
And again, you said it, you're up against some amazing universities.
Universities that have been around for decades.
Decades, if not hundreds of years.
Yep. And you still now, when I go to conferences a lot to speak, there'll be new universities that I'm learning about. And out of curiosity, I'll check their rankings. Maybe they might be 2,000 in the ranking or 3,000 or whatever. And it just hits home even more strongly how well we've done. So I think as a law school, we built the best law school in the Middle East, I would say. And globally, our name in such a short space of time is now recognized. We are known by the best institutions. We only take 10 to 15 students every year for our main degree program, which is very small, but our students are doing great. After they get their law degree from us, they're going to get further law degrees like master's degrees and so on at other top universities. We've had someone every year for the last 5 years go to Harvard to do their master's in law there. So we've done well, I think.
What was it like for you coming out of Cambridge? Okay, it's one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
But then coming to the Middle East to take, must have been back then, a huge responsibility.
It's a big gamble. You don't know how it's going to go. You don't know if the law school is going to survive. It was founded by Northwestern Law School in the US. They were brought over for the first few years to set it up. So it was a good institution to help set it up for the first few years, and they were doing good hiring. But you never know. With a new institution, are you going to get enough demand? Will students be interested? Will the hierarchy still support it in any country? If you've got a new project, the riskiest bit is at the beginning. So you come into it thinking, this is potentially harmful to your career if it tanks. On the other hand, if it's a success, it can really accelerate your career because you're doing things that people in established universities will never do because they're not building something. They're just, if you're going to be a professor in a law school in the UK, you're brought in and you teach a course that already exists and they say, this is your place, this is what you do. But here it's sort of, we haven't got anything. You need to build everything. You need to teach everything. You need to design everything. You need to conceptualize everything. You need to serve on as many committees as possible. And so you have to be a certain type of person, I think, to do that. That's not easy. A lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
So it did go well for you.
Yeah, it's gone well for the law school and the university, yeah.
So it's gone well for you, but you're still here after 12 years.
8 years now.
8 years.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. It's gone even... Yeah, I mean, how long have you been here?
I've been here 16.
16, well, there you go.
But the thing with it is, what I'm trying to get to is that it may have been at the beginning, as you said, it could have tanked and it would have been a blot on your copybook, but it didn't.
Yep.
And it's gone from success to success.
You got to take risks in life to be successful. I think you can play it safe in life, and I think for a lot of people, I think they choose to play it safe, and that's fine. And I can understand why, because everyone's circumstances are different. They've got different pressures in life, different responsibilities. I think for me, I was just very lucky with my timing. I was 28 and coming out with a PhD from Cambridge, and I had no responsibilities really then, so I could take a risk. And I had the blessing from the professors at Cambridge. I sought lots of advice, and they were all the same. They said, now's the time to take a risk in life while you're still young, and you can recover from it if it goes wrong, but it's also an adventure. So I'm grateful that there were people who were open-minded to it and not, because there were lots of people who raised an eyebrow and said, why would you go to Qatar? And they sort of, the politics of it too comes into question. But I was never interested in any of that. To me, that was never a negative to come out here. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm going into a bit of a tangent here, but I even back then I felt like this sort of like a judgmental response when you say I'm going to Qatar, and people have these preconceived notions about the place. And I always thought, how can you know a place until you've lived there and you've met the people and you know the context? You don't know. And which country is perfect? Is the UK perfect? Is America? No one's perfect. This is a complicated world. So for me, just the adventurous spirit, and I was unshackled and free to do it. So I was lucky. Yeah.
I say that you've got to take those risks, and it has perfect context, because the great thing, what I'm trying to build with you is that you took that risk, and you've come into a country and you've enjoyed it. There's been things that you've been, and to a certain degree, you've created a legacy within that university, and you go from strength to strength. And sometimes that's the risk that you take, and sometimes it can pay off, but you've got to put that dedication and hard work in.
Yeah. And it's not easy. You bang your head against a wall a lot, and there are the tough times along the way. There's so much to it. But yeah, I think it depends on your disposition. You've got to be very dogged and very determined and clear about what you're doing. So I think that was part of it.
Which has been those things that stood out for you where you've learned so much, those little things that you've gone, oh, wow.
Loads of things. I think one of the challenges of building a new institution is that things aren't always clear. Like in established universities, you've got policies, for example, and all sorts of things like HR and promotions and all sorts of different areas that are clear, and they've been established for a long time. But when you're coming to a new uni or any new institution, you might have different people taking charge. There's a high turnover of leadership. And so goalposts shift very often. So there's a lot of frustration with that as you're trying to build an institution, and institutions need consistency. But in the beginning, there's a lot in the air, up in the air. So you have to it's very frustrating. You have to be sort of calm and go with the flow, so to speak, and know that things could change one year to the next, but eventually in the long term it should settle down. So I think patience then is a big thing. You have to learn.
I agree with you so much, it's untrue, because even in ours, I say to every client that's coming over to establish, I say, learn patience.
Yeah.
There's going to be frustrations that come along, but I don't know of any other better place in the world that you'd want to be right now. Or
yeah, I think also mindset's important. I've seen lots of people come to Qatar, and maybe I'm simplifying it too much, but in general, I've tended to categorize people in one of two categories that come here. One category is people who just clearly come here to make money, and they've got no concept or reason beyond that. If you really dig down, they're here to make money. And so I see that more of like a mentality that's about using a place for your own gain. And those sorts of people don't last long. They're in and out quickly. The other type are people who are genuinely interested in leaving a legacy, like you said. They want to build something and put the time in and contribute something so that when they go, there's something there for the next group to then take on and move forward. And those are the people like you who have been here a long time, I would say. Those are the people who've been here, 7 years and above, 10 years and above, 15 years and above. Those are the ones who actually care about the place. They feel like they've got a stake in the place. So I think it's important to bring that attitude to what you're doing anywhere you go. So
we talk about legacy. It must be really important for you. For me, I thought legacy, for one thing, was too big a word in my early days. It's like, how can you build a legacy? But you must see this in all of your students, in everything that you're doing. Everybody's entitled to that legacy, because you'll never know what you've got to be empowered so that you can create those differences that are going to mean something really important to other people.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be in a big way. Legacy can be in small ways.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as it's helping somebody and it's laying a path. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. That was, who's it, Ralph? Although I forgot his name. But that was a quote I stand by.
I love the quote. I love the quote.
I have to find the quote from somewhere. Who said it? But Ralph someone, I believe. But yeah, I think that's a good mantra to live by.
And that brings me on to the next one. You just recently, which I've met you before, it was at your award ceremony. It was at the British Council's Alumni Award ceremony. But you won.
Yep.
Stiff competition. But it was a great evening, a wonderful evening. It must have been really nice for that recognition.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's about the recognition. I think it's more about... to me, it just means that you're doing something that's showing your country in a good light. So I'm quite patriotic. Yeah, I love my country. And it's strange we say that living abroad, but it actually makes you appreciate your country more when you're away from it and you see it from outside perspective looking in. So to show the country off in a good light and to be representative of the institutions that have given me degrees there. So whether it was Cambridge, and I did my master's at Durham and my undergrad at Newcastle University. I think that was the most important thing for me. It's more about representing your country rather than the self sort of recognizing me. It's like, okay, I've done something for the country in a small way. I mean, it's not like you're serving in the army or that's service for your country. But as I say, if we can all do it in our small ways as a collective, then that helps us move forward as a team. And that's the way I see it. So that was, so it was stiff competition. I do healthcare law. When I came to Qatar, I didn't do healthcare law before that. I did an area called constitutional law, looking at constitutions, government, parliament. But they needed someone to teach healthcare law. So you've got to be adaptable. And I said, I'll teach it because all of my family work in medicine. And I think I've learned a lot during my life growing up, just on the side, just hearing these conversations. I can probably learn the law quickly enough to adapt. And I did. And so when I came to healthcare law, the way it works in law is there are many different fields. There's constitutional law, there's injury law, there's contract law, international law, health law. There's dozens of areas. So whatever field that you decide to go into, you've got to ask yourself, how am I going to contribute to this field? How am I going to add value to it? And coming to healthcare law as someone who hadn't even really studied it, I knew I had to think about how to add value to it. And so I looked, this was back in 2019, 2020, a year or two after I arrived. And I determined that there was work coming in on artificial intelligence in healthcare. And there were only a handful of professors in the world who do healthcare law, who are looking at AI's intersection. And I thought, okay, it's a level playing field there. They know probably just as much about the technology as I do, because we're all starting out as lawyers learning about this. They know much more about me than other issues they've been doing for decades. So let me leave that and let me look at AI and see what I can do. So I just put a lot of time and effort into researching this area, meeting with those professors who are doing work in this area, going to conferences, meeting them, gaining their trust, starting to work with them. And then I signed a book contract with a publisher called Edward Elgar. This is a UK independent publisher that does law and social sciences. And spent a few years putting together a team of people who would contribute chapters to the book and shape this field. And so that's what I've spent the last, not just the book, I've been publishing lots of articles, and I ran a research grant here at HBKU on developing guidelines for the use of AI in healthcare. So by just going really specialist in this field for a number of years now, the timing was right. And so it was a level playing field, and I was able to shape the field and be first to market on that, so to speak, globally. So that, I think that timing was good. So that's why I think it fed into the award, being one of the first.
Stiff competition.
Yeah, you never. I was wondering who would bring the first book out on health and healthcare AI law, and it's a niche topic, but in law, you just never know who's thinking of these topics too. There's professors all around the world, and is there somebody who's got a better idea, a book that's going to come out, 2 years before mine, and then my idea is gone. It's a bit of a race. So because you don't know what's going on, you don't know what you're up against. So my focus during the time of developing the book was just focus on quality, get the best quality people, get the best quality research come out, and don't worry about anything else that's going on. As long as you've got the best people and the best quality coming out, that will speak for itself in the end. So I was calm through it, even though you don't know what else is coming. And still now, there's so much that's written about AI and healthcare, and there's loads of people publishing things every day, but I just keep calm about it. I think it's great, actually. I want more people involved now because I learn more, and so just as long as I focus on quality, that's the main thing.
I'm going to introduce you to a Dr. Mohammed Yassin.
Okay.
And he's going to love to. He's done about 300 papers on AI in health.
Amazing.
And he's recognised. I was over with a professor from the UK, and I said, he's in the top 20 for haematology, and he said, well, if you look a little bit deeper, he's probably number one when it comes to with his publications on AI.
Amazing. And that's an interesting thing, because in law used to be a siloed field in the early 90s or whatever. To be a law professor meant you read a case that a judge had wrote, and you comment on how the judge had developed the law. But now it's not that. Now it's like we have to cross disciplines. I have to work. It's much more dynamic. I'm not saying it wasn't dynamic then, but now the push for a professor is much more like that. Like I have to reach my hand across the aisle and meet with doctors or people in healthcare, the scientists, not just the people in healthcare, the computer scientists, and learn from them and try and see how can the law help you, or what do you need to know about the law so you can do your work, or is there something in your work that's problematic that we need to talk about law and ethics to make sure it's safe for people in the end, which is the patients. So having those conversations you have to be much more dynamic. So you have to engage with those people. And so when you say he's got like these 200 publications in this field, it's a bit daunting for us lawyers because we're not experts in the technology. And we don't publish like that. We publish in a very different way. So it's sort of learning about them, their discipline, and how they approach this field, and then how do we bridge that gap, and how do we be useful to them. So there's a bit of a process to it.
I'm definitely going to introduce you because I think he's wonderful. I must admit I've come across him just by chance. I say just by chance. He was looking after me for one reason or another, my hemochromatosis, and after 8 years of having that, kind of going to see him every 6 months, he looks up to me and says, "What do you do?" And now that just opened up a whole can of worms when we're kind of helping each other in one way or another. But it's really good.
Has anybody interviewed you?
No, it's kind of, there's one lady that wants to do it at the moment, which I'm going to give into. But yeah, there will be.
You should be interviewed. Come on. Given your background.
It's kind of, I must admit, I love this way. And the health sector here in Qatar is just sometimes a little over, I know but it's a little overlooked. It's fantastic, by the way. I think it's amazing. I think what people like you and other people are trying to do to this whole health sector here is phenomenal. It can, for example, I know I keep on shouting about it, but it can, Simulation and Innovation Center is just beyond words for me. I think what it's doing for other people is, and from all over the world, I think it's just magical. And it needs to have people like you as the legacy creator, that leader, right?
Yeah.
Finding the path.
They're doing great work.
Yeah,
They are. They're
amazing.
investing so much in the healthcare sector, and you see all of these. Of course, the main hospital here is Hamad Medical Corporation, and they have some world-class doctors there. And then you've got the private sector too, which it's interesting seeing that mix. We don't really have that in the UK, to the extent that you see it here, of course, where you've got these sort of branded hospitals like Cedars-Sinai that are linked to LA. It's interesting seeing not just about the healthcare and the innovations, but just seeing how it operates as an economic model in a market. So there's a lot of aspects to it that fascinate me. But as a lawyer, what I try to look at is, or get involved with the Ministry of Health, and I have for many years on many of their projects, is just to see how we should shape regulations in the space and governance and strategies and things like that, and other entities here. So I try and get involved every year in the local conferences, whether it's with Qatar University, HBKU, or the ministry, to try and contribute to those conversations. But like you, the thing that I find very interesting is, because I do law every day, is the innovations and the people who are working in the health sector and the amazing work they're doing. So,
how they keep on that pathway, right? How
Yeah.
they keep on finding that, creating the path sometimes.
and they've got, it's like a microcosm here. There are some countries who are really focused on in a large scale on technology and innovations, like China is, Korea, unbelievable what they're doing out there. So I think they're trying to bring that and here into the Gulf region. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar are all doing some pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how the British Council weaves their way into all of it, it's quite phenomenal, really, because they play that unassuming role sometimes in the background. And for me, it was really impressive because I just didn't realise how much they do. But we both realise what great job they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got so many people who want to get involved with the British Council, and it's that soft power sort of role, and it's very important because it contributes something, I think. So,
Yes, they do. They contribute something.
Yeah.
72 years they've been in Qatar.
it's incredible.
Yeah, and their families, they're part of the family with so many, all different nationalities, including the local community here. They've been that backbone when it comes sometimes to learning English, but their scope has gone in health now, helping in those areas, helping in I had some people interviewed this morning on fashion, where it was in TNT school, where they were learning how to recycle the waste into having a fashion show with something that they've created, and they're at the leading edge of that.
Yeah, it's a very holistic way of looking at what are we doing as an institution, what are people linked to Britain doing, and what role can it play in a positive way. I think it's a very good thing. So,
What was it like when you won the award to have the person look up on the screen and tell everybody and wish you well?
yeah, so they was very kind. The Newcastle University's alumni office had a pre-recorded message which was played. It was very kind. And I also received private emails from Durham University and Cambridge University's alumni offices. But it meant a lot, especially from Newcastle, because Newcastle was the start of the journey. That was my undergrad. And I wrote a post about this recently, just a brief post. Newcastle University has something called the Partners Program. One thing that I think has been overlooked a lot in discourse in the UK recently is because there's been a lot of, we see now that there's a lot talked about in terms of like equality and all of that. And I think one thing that's been overlooked a lot is in conversations in the UK is who are the people who are actually the lowest achievers. And there was a study commissioned by the UK government in 2021 it was conducted by, I think, a professor at Oxford University, that showed the most disadvantaged, lowest achieving group in the UK are white British males, white British females at age 16, and I think black Caribbean males and black Caribbean females, and mixed black-white. So this is your group. And the biggest determinant for them being lowest achieving was their socioeconomic status, like money. And one thing that Newcastle does, and has done it for a long time, is through its partners program, it's looked at that. What is your socioeconomic position, because that's going to determine whether you're going to be successful in the UK. We're not America. We've got different issues. Our issues are different to America because everyone talks about America. And so they said, we'll create a partners program if you're from this certain postcode and you're from a very low achieving area and the economic status of this area is very bad. And what we'll do is we'll lower your entry grades for your chosen course. And you do a summer school also as an introduction to the university, where you do sort of like, they ease you into it and they lower your entry grades if you're from a deprived area. And I actually think that's a really meaningful thing. So if I look at my comprehensive school, I'm from a town called Peterlee, and I love Peterlee, but my comprehensive school at the time was one of the lowest achieving in the entire UK when it came to GCSEs. It had the lowest average GCSE scores, or amongst the lowest. It was really low achieving on the national scale. So it's people from that sort of area who could benefit. So even if you are a bright kid and you're going to this school, your scores on average will be lower compared to someone who is not as bright but in a better school, because the infrastructure there is better. What they can offer you in your education is better. There are fewer disruptions in the classroom because students come from more stable families than you would in this area. So that even helped me. So I got a lower entry grade offer to do law. Instead of needing 3 A's, I needed 3 B's. I ended up getting 2 A's and a B, but it was still slightly below. And I just thought, I really appreciated that at the time. I thought, there's a university here that cares. It's actually looking at the core issue. What's the problem? And bearing in mind, at my school, I was the highest achieving male in my whole school. So even I, at that level in my school, needed to benefit from that lower entry grade requirement. And my school was big. It was more than 1,000 students. Right? So seeing Newcastle give that message, it actually meant a lot, because it's an ongoing support. It's from day one, from helping people in the local area who need a leg up and following them throughout, and then celebrating them on the back end really meant a lot. It really meant a lot. So, and for me, I'm giving back to that now. I donate to that same program. And you just look at how many bright kids out there who, they could have ended up like me, going to Cambridge and then so on, doing all of these things. Maybe they couldn't have got into Newcastle which is one of the top law schools, and had that pathway, the same pathway. So, yeah, so that's what I saw when I'm on the stage looking at that. There's a much deeper story to that, to me, than just, a thank you or a congratulations. To me, it was like a big respect for the institution.
Why the Geordies?
Yeah.
I must admit, I hear stories like that, and I think that the world is a much better place, because people like you, we may have just missed you, or the world might have just missed you with what you've gone on to achieve.
Yeah.
And only in years to come will we realize just how much you've achieved.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have known it, and you don't know who you're missing out there. So the key thing is, and this is why I don't know who commissioned the report from the UK government. I don't know which government it was exactly that commissioned it, because we had so many prime ministers. But whoever commissioned it, I'm glad they did, because I think it reinforces the need for these types of programs, which actually looking at what's the issue. I'm from an area that's a coal mining area, and these are deprived areas, and the industry's gone. And so there's so many bright people there that could contribute a lot. So let's give them a leg up.
Well done. Well done. I love those types of things. And again, it's these types of things. It's like the touches that the British Council does. That's why we celebrate them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it ties, it is sort of full loop. Then the British Council gets involved, and let's celebrate our grads. And so, yeah, I think that's very important. These things are really important.
And I love what I do with these because I am patriotic like you.
Yeah.
And it's like to understand and to feel what these guys have done is pretty special. So I'm glad that they're around, because they do such great work. And I'm glad that we can sit here and talk about those great things that we've got back in our country.
Yeah. There's too much negativity about our country.
Yeah.
You see it. So I think there's a phenomenon in the West now, sort of like a hate of self and a hate of country, and embarrassment or of patriotism, or looking down on people who are patriotic, and and labeling them with something. And I think that's completely wrong. You've got to be proud of your country, and you've got to understand its history and what it represents. And you've got to, it's up to the current group of people, current crop, to understand that history and further what the country's about and so on. So
you've got to be responsible for your own legacy. And
yeah.
if you're not creating one, then bad on you.
You said it better than I did.
Bad on you, because I've had those ups and downs, and I can blame everything onto where I lived and but at the end of the day, you've got to put the hard graft in.
Yeah. And then I would level that up to as a country. As a country, you've got to put the hard graft in. And I think living abroad gives you that perspective a bit. When you see what Qataris do for themselves, right? They have this phrase they put up on their boards everywhere: Qatar deserves the best. And you might sort of just chuckle at that, but they believe it and they live by that mantra, and that's why they develop. And you go to countries like Singapore or South Korea or Japan and so on, and you see the responsibility that they take for their country and the pride they take in their country to further it. It's not that they don't have their issues, these places, they do, but you see this mentality that it sometimes concerns me we are losing, and we need to get back.
Yeah. I'm really proud of what we're trying. Be patriotic, enjoy the country that you represent, and be proud. I've really enjoyed our podcast. I really have. I'm glad that you've come on and shared. I'm glad that I've shared those moments with you. Congratulations on all your achievements. Congratulations on what you're doing for others right now. And that you may have just missed that, but congratulations on what you're doing for other people.
Thank you. It means a lot actually to see, you build something here and you see the next generation of students, and now it's a cycle, and then they go on and do things. So it's good.
And I do hope you're here for another 8 years, because that's what Qatar does for you.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Good on you.
Hopefully. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've got one more question before I say cheerio. What is one word that represents the British Council to you?
One word that represents the British Council. There's a concept in my mind, and I'm trying to nail it down into a word. It's like the Britishness of.
Now you said that, I want to say represents, but it may not be the word that you're looking for. But they do. They represent so much good in this world.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines of represent. There's a word in there that I'm trying to nail down, because it's more of a concept. The concept being, this sort of leaving. It's like a positive legacy. It's like bringing people together. It's imparting a certain way of behavior and thinking. It's like this concept that I have that I can't encapsulate in a word.
Now you know why I say it's probably the hardest thing that I'm going to ask you to do right now. And it's not easy. It'll either come to you, or there's just so many different things that come into your mind.
You know what? Let's just say excellence.
That's a pretty good word too.
Because I think it encapsulates everything in the sense of excellence of building capacity with people, setting the standard of how you do that, of how you leave a legacy, of how you build a community. And I think that's not easy to do. That's that soft power way of doing things that I think the Brits can do better than anyone else. So I think the British Council as an entity represents that well. Yeah.
Wonderful.
But maybe that slightly better word will come to me as I'm in the car, probably.
Just send me a voicemail.
I'll do it.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It's a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.